Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to UKLC. We have this second game of BTXL taking on NVISION coming your way. XL were dominant in the first. Despite some pauses, they did actually manage to end the game in around 25 minutes. So they had a pretty good early... 29, basically 25 minutes. They had a really, really good opening game versus NVISION. And obviously it was controlled and measured from the very get-go. NVISION now need to bounce back. They need to find some kind of way to deal with XL. Obviously the draft will change up, I assume. I think the sides are actually exactly the same. So actually NVISION are on blue side and XL are on red. So they just need to find a way to change their draft.
Yeah, NVISION chose side selection. They opted into this one. So game one was chosen by XL for being the highest seed. Game two is decided by the loser of game one, and NVISION opted for blue side. So clearly feeling the side selection wasn't a factor here and looking to go in this game. Potentially we could see the draft change a bit, but in all honesty, I think the only thing I wasn't too convinced on was the victory in the mid lane. To me, it was something we typically see a lot of agency from Adept. Maybe wasn't something that I would expect him to play when we often rely on him to be a big carry for NVISION. Although it could be a factor at looking what XL managed to pick up and deny in some of those aspects. Maybe the Callisto was too much of an issue. Maybe the double flex of the set and the Callisto was too much of a problem to sort of go up against in terms of picking strong lanes for yourself, because typically NVISION looks to have pretty favorable lane matchups, particularly in the mid. We've seen Adept left till later stages to pick up that Tristana, so we'll see how that pans out here. Ultimately, we're seeing the same ban come out round one from NVISION. I doubt we'll see changes from XL, given the situation of things. You've won that game one. I'd probably open with the same red side bans as before, which was that Senna Ornn, and then the Pantheon. I definitely think we'll see the Senna Ornn.
Yeah, the center one for sure will be a ban strategy coming out here from XL. You can see we are now into the draft, obviously. The LeBlanc has been targeted away from special. I wonder if they're going to continue with something like the Ziggs. Okay, NVISION don't feel like the bans were their issue. I don't think the bans were particularly bad from NVISION either. They probably just need to think about some different styles of picks, or maybe they just feel like they executed badly. Maybe they just thought if that bot lane skirmish went differently, they probably would have been much more capable in that game. You never know. Obviously, execution means a great deal, even outside of the drafts here. But XL sticking to their guns, actually changed up and go for the Callisto ban here now.
I think the Callisto was an issue because obviously it gave such strong skirmishing power to Deadly. It gave huge objective control. It obviously gave that safety net to Kasing as well, which made it very hard to punish him when they were looking for picks to get back in the game. And the critical thing was from minute one, you were sort of concerned, is this a flex? Now, they didn't really put too much merit into that because they picked the Aatrox into the set. But ultimately shutting down that 80 carry is an option. And you can see BTXL thinking a bit more about those changes. And with the Callisto gone, they want to opt into getting rid of that Ophelia. So it means Pantheon and Syndra are the two champions that are open that weren't before. And NVISION going to pick up the Misfortune, which that's an interesting one for me. We haven't seen Yusa play much of Misfortune at all. Clearly something he's been practicing, especially up against XL. That is a big champion for Deadly. So quite critical to deny that one. And it means you're handing over the Syndra too special in this situation.
Yeah,
we could just see the set for Sendo if they want to go in the similar direction to the last draft.
I think that's going to be the case. I was going to say with special having Syndra available, you feel like it's just a no-brainer pick for him in that mid lane. It does mean that you give away both your solo lanes here. So the enemy is very well aware, and you've kind of lost a little bit of red side advantage, I suppose. Obviously, Set can flex a little bit, but we almost certainly assuming he's going to be for Sendo in the top side of the map, and it's going to be Aatrox and Nautilus here. I'm wondering whether you just have to go for your support. If you're really, really worried now for Kasing, if your support pool gets pinched, you just go for your support in this situation, or you go for a jungler and ban away some junglers from Nulti.
Or potentially need a carry. I mean, it depends if you're still wanting to flex that Syndra, but realistically, we haven't seen BTXL do that. It'd kind of be holding a bluff. So they could just take something like the Ezreal, the Varus for Deadly in this situation, but instead they're just going to go for the jungle, securing Sejuani again for Taxa. And that means right now you can potentially look to ban away that Gragas from Nulti. So a big thing they prioritize is when they have two picks in a rotation is going the Gragas Nautilus. Obviously in this situation, having to take the Aatrox in the set denies that. So we'll see the Gragas taken away, and the response is going to be a Cassiopeia. So bit of an interesting one. I guess it's still keeping things up in the air with regards to flexes, but we've seen Sendo play in the top lane. It also potentially can put a bot lane or mid. Still a lot of flexibility on these two first picks for BTXL. But now looking towards their second ban, they could target an ulti more, potentially look at Adept. And they're just going to go for the Karthus, sorry. So looking towards those typical AP junglers we've seen from Nulty, but at least still open and available. Jarvan still open and available. Definitely still options afforded to him.
Yep, absolutely, and things that he is very comfortable on as well, being the Elise and Olaf that you just mentioned. They are very, very comfortable picks for Nulty in general. So I don't think Nulty will be too worried just with the small pinch from the jungle pool coming in on the second ban rotation. So XL going to have to pick up now. Obviously, the Cassiopeia ban, I guess the NVISION just covering their sort of bluffs. They're just saying if that is going to be Syndra potentially in the bot lane, maybe even Deadly playing Cassiopeia in the bot lane, but it is going to be the Rakan locked in here focusing. So we still don't have a clear indication, but that does still throw up the opportunity of a Syndra bot lane pick for Deadly.
Yeah, I think the Thresh ban was a big sort of lean to deny that Syndra bot lane because Thresh gives a lot of safety over to that Syndra with the Lantern, so obviously making up for the lack of mobility. But we see the Aurelia come in for Adept, which is a big pick for him. Honestly, I could see an Elise coming out here simply because they are very much lacking in terms of AP. They kind of need someone providing that damage in that front line, even though Elise doesn't scale super well. It just makes it harder to itemize. And we do see that rounding things out. So quite an aggressive early focus composition from NVISION, definitely not waiting to get to the later stages. And we now see Deadly come in and see what he's going to pick up. If it is going to go towards him, it could well be this Syndra being moved bot lane. I do expect an AD carry right now. Varus open and available. But we'll see how things pan out.
It's going to be the Xayah. So the Xayah Rakan bot lane here, obviously a very tried and tested bot lane, very strong. And, can match in terms of mid-game power potential. The Xayah is a pretty strong mid-game AD carry in her own right. And these are the two compositions. Now, Special is going to be going up against Adept on his Aurelia. This could be a tough one for him, especially going up against the Elise. Maybe Cleanse is something that he could consider, although he's looking like he's going to stick with a teleport for the time being. Definitely up to Nulty and Adept, I think, this game. They definitely have a big weight on their shoulders going into this second game.
I like this more because they have a lot more agency in the mid jungle, which we didn't really see last game. And I think NVISION struggled as a result. There's a lot of sort of power across the board from Vision, and BTXL very much have matched it. But I feel like the jungle gap is the thing right now. Taxa obviously playing a really strong game, but he's now on a Sejuani up against Elise. You're not going to be able to make too much momentum in that matchup. I mean, especially before 6, but even after 6, the Elise is stronger in skirmishes. And it just means that we're looking at Nulty to have a huge game here, set things up, take advantage of the skirmish potential and translate that into a strong mid game and potentially take this one. But I definitely like this draft more for NVISION just in terms of they have Adept on something that he can really find some momentum with.
Yeah, and I think you to talk about how passive the Victor really wasn't lending to the strengths of Adept on this roster, whereas obviously we've seen him pop off on Aurelia. We've seen him really take over games on that particular pick. So I'm very much expecting big things from him if they are to step up in this game versus XL. But obviously it's XL at the end of the day. They are still yet to be unbeaten in the entire of the UKLC so far. They still have Taxa on one of his favorite jungle picks where he can drive the map pressure exactly like he did in the previous game. So it's still going to be a challenge for NVISION. They are still an upward battle as we head on to the Rift for our second game of this series. In terms of, I think you might have briefly touched on a few of them here, Orcs, but for XL, where do their win conditions lie?
Well, I think very much a large aspect of it is denying Nulty. We often saw Taxa playing not for ganks in lanes, but playing to cover his laners. That is going to be a critical aspect here because if Deadly or Kasing or Special or even Sendo, if any of them have their wave in a bad position, they're going to be vulnerable to the threat of Nulty. So I think it's being in the right place at the right time. One critical thing is if Nulty commits hard, throws a cocoon, repels in, he can end up being very vulnerable with no outs. So if you find a counter gank, definitely can find an opportunity to deliver. And I don't think by any means BTXL have a weak composition early. I think it's just the threat of the Elise is the only factor. And if they can sort of taper the aggression from Nulty, if they can sort of limit how much impact he can have on the map, then very much they can find themselves going into a favorable spot later in this game.
It looks like XL just playing as usual, super safe. We haven't seen too much level 1 from them. We saw a bit of level 1 yesterday in the Nordic Championships, with the Nautilus early on, but it doesn't look like NVISION are looking to take any kind of risks at the start of the game here. Obviously, with this now being their European Masters lifeline.
You're saying that, and I say that, right,
and then they're right. I literally just see on the map that they're going for an invade here. Now, XL are aware that this is happening because they did have vision of them moving in. They saw that their ward got swept. So I think we'll just see some vertical jungling coming out here with Taxa very likely to head straight over to the blue buff.
Which I'm not against. It kind of leaves Shikari on an island, but I mean, that has typically been the role that Shikari has served for such a long time as the reigning, for such a long time, UK champion. Just playing weak side has been the thing he's done. So looks to be playing more towards the bot side, puts a lot of pressure on the Zyra Khan, who normally at level 1 wants to try and apply pressure with the strength of those champions and the synergy they have. Now, Dept having a bit of a rough time in the mid lane.
He is. Yeah, he just got caught out level 1 by Special here, and Special now being level 2, landed the stun also. No Ignite, so obviously couldn't go for the kill here. Speaking of which, level 2s, Deadly and Kissing caught out by that very powerful level 2 of the Nautilus, but they won't take too much damage for it. No lives lost on that bottom side of the map.
Yeah, and Adept has TP, so if he needs to get back to lane, he can. Obviously, level 1 on Aurelia, not the best. You kind of want your Q and your E to work together in tandem. So giving up a lot of pressure and farm, but he should be able to CS pretty easily in the tower. And it's just waiting until Nulty's at that point and we can start to apply pressure potentially.
And Special still has all of his resources available to him. Actually, Nulty's sitting nearby on the bottom side of the map, so Adept may be looking for that. But I mean, Adept, I think he's popped all of his corrupting potion stacks now. He's very low on HP. He may be forced back here. And Taxa is in a solid position to potentially counter gank, although he is going for the Gromp, and that's going to leave Special alone for just a little bit longer. Although I think Special's very well aware. I mean, Adept essentially telegraphed that by walking out on about 20% HP.
I think the critical thing was they were trying to get the wave cleared so that Adept can recall TP back in, reset the corrupting potion stacks, pick up, the Doran's Blade for a bit of power. That was the critical takeaway there. It wasn't specifically looking for the gank. It was just giving a breathing room over to that Aurelia because she can take over this mid lane matchup, but against a lane buddy like Syndra, she needs a little bit of breathing room to do so. And now this is a more serious attempt. If Special oversteps, potentially the Cocoon comes in, the follow-up CC, or if Taxa, tries to make his presence known mid, they can match that. And you see a lot of pressure coming in the bot lane, but typically, if you're looking towards the top lane, this is a rough wave position for Shikari. He's going to get a ward down, but he'll get caught out.
He'll get caught out. I wonder if he's just going to have to flash immediately here. Lots of damage coming through. We'll flash away from the face breaker, so we'll not get dragged back in. But, I mean, for very little effort, that's a good summoner burn early on for Taxa.
And that's a critical thing. Playing around the waves in that situation, Shikari shoved the wave in. He knew he kind of had the ward at that point, and it was just perfect timing, Taxa being there at that moment, because he knew that Shikari would be in a really precarious position and having to overextend in the lane. The cost is a flash. He was fortunate to be able to get it out before the face breaker comes in. The CC layering a little bit off, but the end result is they get that summoner from him, can look to punish. Now Special out of mana in the mid lane.
Yeah, and he has to flash as well. Nulty will land the Cocoon, but Nulty spent a lot of time in that mid lane, so has yet to apply much pressure elsewhere, though he doesn't really need to. Nothing else has happened on the map right now, and bot lane's kind of doing its own thing. Although Sendo, this might be difficult for Shikari to come back from right now. The wave in a rough position for him, and with no flash, he doesn't want to get locked into an engage.
But critically, he gets that reset off. Now, there is quite a bit of casters that's going to make things difficult, but I don't think it'll hold for too long, and it will push back eventually. He's able to get reset by the refillable, and actually going to TP in, so Nulty's heading towards the top side now. The vertical jungling's kind of ended, and he's hopefully going to be able to afford some pressure to Shikari to get this shoved in and allow it to bounce. But that does mean bot lane a little bit vulnerable right now for Yusa and Prosper, and it could set up just to an early dragon for Taxa if he wants to look for this right now.
So maybe what he's doing, he's definitely hanging around. You can see Adept has been forced back again by Special. I mean, Special's just so good on Syndra. He's really been pressuring. Obviously, the burn flash is never a good thing, but still finding some love in that top lane matchup. Although Sendo has to be careful. Nulty's coming through. I think Sendo's just dead here. I don't think there's any way that he escapes from this. The face breaker comes through. They're going to gift that kill over to Shikari. You did talk about Nulty heading to the top side of the map. First blood will go down, but they do trade it for the dragon.
Yeah, which in all honesty for NVISION, that's fine. First dragon, not super valuable. The ocean dragon, a little bit of health regenerate isn't really going to change things. And the critical thing is they get that kill onto Shikari. He was having a little bit of trouble being flashed us after that gank, but it's given a bit of breathing room for him. And if we look across the map, we see Adept's equalized in terms of farm. Yusa's slightly ahead, but it's nothing significant. They're in a decent spot this game, but remember, it was about a little bit after this point where that skirmish came in that kind of just decided the game in XL's favor. It was a few minutes later, but even so, things can drastically make a turn for a worse right now. Oh my, have you seen Yusa's items?
quadruple Doran's Blade misfortune for Yusa to the one BF sword that Deadly has gone. Yusa's basically looking to make a stamp early here. And really is.
You can compare the stats. So there's obviously 40 AD from the BF sword, and you are below that. You're at 24 AD from the triple Dorans he picked up, but you're getting 240 HP. You get 9% lifesteal on top of the Doran's Blade you already have. So buying 3 Dorans, it's definitely more early focus, but this very much suggests to me that NVISION are looking to contest now. This is where they're trying to take momentum in the game. And Misfortune already is super strong at this point, but she's just far stronger in this item spike compared to the Xayah. Gonna make things difficult if Deadly wants to opt into a fight when Yusa is there.
I just think they don't want to get caught out in these early skirmishes again, and they're going to say, well, if there's an early skirmish that's going to take place, we're going to fight you for it.
We're going to win it.
Yeah, exactly.
Big takeaway, which I think is the right call. You know, you're playing this composition where you have looked to have some more early pressure on the back of the release. You want to play around having that strength afforded to you. You want to have that early power. And I mean, everyone across Shikari and Adept both picking up Doran's Blades after the first back. It's about having that early momentum because you can translate it into finding objectives, finding kills. That makes that investment worth it in the early game. But Shove came in from Yusa on the bot side, and he's now swapped up towards top lane. We could see a situation where XL opt out of contesting this, but for now they're just leaving Deadly to farm in the bot lane, which is something we very typically see. But it doesn't mean they're weaker on the top side of the map. So a pick could come in from NVISION, a Herald start, and now they're looking for something. But with Sendo being there as well and Deadly not yet moving down, they don't really want to go for anything too crazy. Critical thing is Deadly's moving up, and the fight's being started.
Tax is already getting locked up here. There's going to be a big engage coming through. The Showstopper will do work as Adept jumps in with the ultimate and gets exhausted with double stun. And now Tax is surely going to go down here as Adept takes that kill. Deadly has turned up and will just about be out of the range of the hook. But NVISION find an early fight that goes in their favor.
Yeah, and I actually thought that could have gone pretty bad because of the fact that Deadly was moving before Shikari. Shikari had no TP, but the end result is they win out this skirmish. And in the actually looking to see more of a fight coming here from XL.
Yeah, Kasing just trying to get some information on this Rift Herald take. Sendo's pretty happy to go aggressive here. Now Shikari has turned up. Special's just trying to queue up some of these orbs to see what he can do with them. But XL might even try and go for this right now. There's a lot of damage coming through as there's an immediate root coming out. Crossfire in the front line. I can't really see what's going on, but Sendo picks up the kill. Shikari now, big knockup from Kasing. That's a huge engage, allowing them to pick up yet another kill as Taxa works his way through. Somehow, just from a little bit of information, XL find that fight.
They managed to buy enough time. The thing is, NVISION had really run out of steam in that situation. Low HP bars, and they were vulnerable targets specifically for Nulti and Crossfire. And the end result is they still got the Herald NVISION, but they weren't able to pick it up. So not really too much of a reward. XL quickly answering back. And now when you look at the items and you see all those Doran's Blades, it doesn't feel nearly as good because you played around that, you played a skirmish, and you didn't come out favorably in all honesty. So not the greatest start, but now Special in trouble, does have to flash away. Yeah, a lot of summoners down across the board. I think the only person with flash available is Yusa right now, and it means this dragon in 35 seconds, pressure already being applied on the bot side by NVISION to get control of that area. I want to see them looking to secure this one, maybe looking to take a fight out of it if they can force XL into them, because they are still very powerful at this point. And like I said, Special no flash, Deadly no flash, vulnerable targets.
Special hasn't backed either since that first back that he took early on. That's going to be a lockup on to Taxa. He has to be careful. Will dodge over the wall. Won't get stunned up by Adept, and then Special will try and bite back with the stun of his own. But Special does really need to head back to base right now because he is lacking in terms of power comparatively to his counterpart.
I think
it's going to be the startup.
I don't really want to contest this one. Yeah, Special's recalling, Tax is backing away. Although pings are coming out, they might be looking for this. I'm not sure how I feel about this one. Sendo doesn't have TP. I think they're trying to feign presence so that Shikari moves down. is a critical thing. So Sendo gets some alone time. That's the big takeaway here, is that there was never a way they were going to fight that one. Sendo has no TP, staying top. But by them just acting like they wanted to opt into the fight, Shikari started to walk down, and they managed to get a plate out of it. It's not a great trade, but you'll take it, considering that NVISION are quite a bit stronger right now. But Taxa finding an opportunity to go on bot lane, but I think they're just going for the wave reset here to transfer pressure. I'd like to see them just reset and go to the top side of the map. Herald is going to be that next objective spawning now. Should be looking towards that one, although they're still keeping a presence on the bot side of the map. We haven't seen that transition come in yet. Maybe just stopping NVISION from resetting is the critical takeaway here. But NVISION going to go for it anyway. No, they're going to cancel it. They're just playing with it. I think the critical thing here is that by you applying that pressure bot lane, it forces NVISION being unable to swap to get pressure set up on that Herald, potentially delay when they go for it. But you have to be cautious you don't overstay. You do not want to opt into a fight with Usain being so strong on the item spike.
Yeah, he's also got the Berserker to be finished up as well, so just makes him even more scary. Deadly is very happy to say, look, I don't have a game. Like, Essence Reaver before I even try and consider taking you on in a skirmish right now. And then Yusa, then those Doran's Blades become not wasted money, but definitely feel almost wasted money, you know?
Yeah, not as much value. There's actually a plate out here. So a reset came in from Prosper to get some more wards. And the end result is actually able to push up and get a plate. So Deadly ahead in gold compared to Yusa. And that's only going to get worse because as the game goes on, when those Doran's Blades eventually need to be sold to free up item slots, you're losing value out of the gold that you initially picked up. So still Yusa stronger despite the gold discrepancy, but it does mean that you're kind of not utilizing a lot from that. XL 1,000 gold up nearly, and NVISION haven't found the momentum we were looking for in the early game yet.
And remember, their composition does kind of fall off. Like, yeah, okay, Misfortune has got some scaling capability, but honestly, their composition really does fall off compared to the likes of XL, I feel. I mean, I don't think XL have got the most insane late game scaling, although now it's going to be a big gank on to Special, who does go down. Taxa now caught in the middle of all four, flashes away from the hook. In comes Kasing to buy a bit of time, as now Taxa gets locked up by Shikari. This was a really nice mid-lane skirmish for NVISION. They'll pick up 2 kills. What else can they get from this situation?
And that's what we're looking for. That's the engage. You burn the flash on Special earlier, and you're able to capitalize on it. It's actually pulled them ahead in terms of gold. They can potentially look to threaten this mid lane tower as a result, and it's just a good play coming out. Now, I do agree with you about the scaling issue, but one thing to take away is that NVISION are still very potent in a 1-3-1. We've seen a new build come out of Aurelia's. Obviously, typically it was a Triforce rush, but because of the changes to Blade of Doom King, it's been prioritized as a first item, more for sustained damage build. But as I'm saying this, Shikari potentially in trouble, very much in trouble.
Yep, I think Shikari's probably just dead here. Sendo's going to get the shutdown as well, so that'll be nice for him.
But now, Deadly did die on the other side of the map, picked up by, I believe, Frostfire and Ulti. Frostfire using the flash and the ultimate to take him down, so... You know, they got that kill into Shikari, which is nice, but it ends up being a trade. And if we look bot lane, Yusa is actually just hammering away at the tower by himself. Now, first tower is going to go over to Sendo and Special. So a good play from XL when things are looking in NVISION favor to still answer back. But the end result is NVISION starting to find the momentum a bit, chaining together some kills.
Yeah, and especially with Adept being 2-0-1, he's a scary, scary Aurelia right now. They are going to lane tier 1, that's going to go over to Yusa. He'll get all of that gold to himself, and that'll be nice because obviously the quadruple Doran's Blade needs to pay off somewhere. What I will say is that Taxa this game has been very subdued. Somehow, Nolty, on one of his most comfortable picks, has really put the pressure onto Taxa. Taxa has not had the same kind of impact he had in the previous game. The Rift Herald has spawned, wondering whether XL are going to try and fight for this.
That's the interesting one. Now it's 45 seconds till Dragon. If they stall it out long enough, they could trade it for the Dragon. I feel like they might just end up pushing in mid. I don't think you want to go for this fight. Special's bot side, which is a critical takeaway. So I think this is just them opting out of this fight. But again, they show presence, they get mid priority, which they can translate into control around the bot side for that Dragon and potentially the bot lane tower. They'll give it up, but they have to have some takeaway from it. XL on a team just to give you some for free.
I'm not sure what Sendo was thinking there.
I'm not sure he was thinking, actually, after that one.
He did just take 75% of his HP here. Now Special forced to flash away. Adept going in. Immediately the ultimate turns back and Special doesn't find the kill. Adept will go down, you feel, at the end here. Taxa just needs to find 1 or 2 more basic attacks and he'll get the shutdown. But Adept has now given up a lot of pressure for NVISION in the mid side. They're going to get a turret out of this, maybe even 2, as XL are scrambling to respond.
Yeah, actually, a pretty big win for XL. Yes, it's a trade. Yes, the shutdown goes over to Taxa, but the end result is they're able to translate it into that 2 towers mid, thanks to Herald. So perfect timing for Adept to find that 1v1, and the end result is NVISION able to take a lot away from it. Now they're moving over this Dragon. Potentially look for this one. TP is available on Adept if he wants to come in for this.
Yeah, Special does not have TP, and Taxa does not have ultimate. I don't know if they're in a good enough position to fight this right now. Taxa is going to hover around again, that's all, showing presence. The rest of XL are coming through. Prospect looks for an engage here. Teleport is coming through. They're going to get the knock up to Prospect. Can they get an easy kill from this as the stopwatch comes through? Big bullet time as well, and Adept just looking for some kind of way into this fight. The face breaker will buy a lot of time here for Sendo. Big ultimate from him, and now Special joins the fight. Now XL start to rally around Taxa as Yusa gets knocked up right at the end. Special will not pick up 2, but that is a big win for XL. I think they even got the Drake too.
No, they didn't. They didn't get the Drake. Not too secured that, but the takeaway there was you take 2 towers mid, you get all that gold in your pocket, and you don't reset for it. So XL willing to fight. Now, Adept's still looking for more. I think if he wins, it's 1v2.
I think he actually can, because that Conqueror is ready to go. The stun will not land. He was looking for a double. But Adept, very powerful right now. Has already used the Blade of the Rune King.
But we've seen bot lane, Sendo find some pressure from this. Gold lead actually given over to XL 2,000 in their favor as a result of that. And the critical takeaway is you invested heavily to get those mid lane towers. You need to reset. You need to spend if you're going to take a fight after that. There was low mana bar on Yusa, and it just felt like XL knew this was their window to get back in the game. They find the fight, and they're ahead now. I still feel like pressure is on the other side of NVISION, and you can see BTXL respecting that. Priority's been achieved mid, and they're rotating over to lean on that top lane tower. But considering this is a team with more pressure but down in gold, it's not a good omen for NVISION, because it may well get to that point where suddenly they just fall flat on their face. For now, though, NVISION looking to still capitalize on these spikes they have in the mid game. Blade of the Rune King for Adept, Essence Reaver for Yusa, Black Cleaver for Shikari. Big spikes for all these champions.
I really feel like Sendo's probably got a good 1v1 potential versus Shikari. Though he's got the Bramble Vest, he's got the Triforce, and once he picks up the Ninja's Tab, you know, even with the Black Cleaver, I don't know if Shikari wins those 1v1s.
I don't think he does.
No.
Especially the level lead as well to Sendo. I think Shikari, the map split early obviously hit him, but ultimately Sendo's been picking up a lot of gold in these team fights, delivering pretty solidly. And Shikari's been playing this weak side Aatrox, which hasn't really been able to amount to much. He's kind of been put on the back bin. And the big takeaway as well is all these plates Sendo's been able to grab have obviously funneled a lot of gold into him. I'd actually like to have a look at the gold numbers. We can see where these differences are coming out. And yeah, 1,000 gold lead in the top lane. Seeing small gold leads mid and 80 carry, 700 in the support role. Again, across the board, XL are ahead. And this is going to become an issue the later the game goes. For now, though, Nulti fishing for something, but Tax and Sendo are covering Special, so not really much to be found there.
What I will say is also Special has got his teleport coming up soon, whereas Adept obviously used it for that last dragon fight. So maybe there is a situation where XL can to abuse their teleport advantage. They have both Sendo and Special up with theirs.
I think it's a little bit tricky, being that they're not playing on the other side of the map, because right now Shikari's just pushed in bot lane. If obviously Shikari didn't have TP, it's a different story, but right now all Adept needs to do is catch the wave, shove it, and rotate. It's what they can do with that window there. So Special groups, because Adept's catching the wave, that's when they push in mid and translate, but Taxa might be caught.
Taxa might be caught, and we'll dive away here. They don't really have the luxury of any towers in the mid lane, but unfortunately no one able to capitalize on that pick from Nulti. And Adept not in position either. Adept really is just their main damage driver right now. Obviously the quadruple Doran's Blade Misfortune is something to worry about, but yeah, they just weren't set up for it.
Adept's the best one at cutting through these tanks, and right now you saw a situation where XL were like, okay, we have top lane pushed in, we can go aggressive. But the counterpoint was that Sendo had to answer bot, and it wasn't really a position where XL wanted to TP him in because it was just them pushing up. So it allows NVISION to negate that pressure, and the game stalls out a bit more. Now, a minute till Infernal Dragon, NVISION really want to start stacking these up because the Infernal Soul is something that can really put themselves in a strong position going later in the game. But Engage coming in from XL.
The engage comes through, Taxa again trying to find it. There's a knock-up attempted from Kasing, but both gets knocked away. Prosper will go down eventually as the showstopper gets the work done, and Deadly already hitting the tower. XL finally cracked that mid lane tier 1, and this should open up some more options for them this game.
And I think you can see the amount of wards that were already in this jungle placed down. I think the critical one was that one just near where the blue buff was, down left. That'll have seen them go into that rush and then observe them not come out. They go for a pick when essentially Nolty and Prosper were sleeping in a rush together, and the reward's pretty big. We're now looking at a 4k gold lead for XL. They're resetting and heading over towards this dragon. And at this point, NVISION are sort of going, right, I'm not sure we win team fights anymore. I think we have to try and play the 1-3-1 game. You can see Adept in the top lane and Shikari in the bot. And this is definitely a way they can sort of find pressure in the game. But realistically, if they give up this next dragon, it just feels like XL have a sort of clean sailing towards their scaling points. But NVISION saying, no, we're going to opt into this. We want everyone here. We want to try and fight this one. They are going to look for an engage, but they're still losing out on the priority mid lane. Taxa, though, looking for Nolty.
Yeah, Nolty is going to get locked immediately. The teleport coming through. Kasing not quite landing the knockup, but Nolty will be the target as Prosper again pays for his... Oh, that was a nice face breaker from Sendo. Can the rest of XL work with this? I don't think they can. Well, actually, Taxa says they can. The bullet time will ward them away, though, as Sendo just tries to dodge it out on his fairly risky side of the map here. That does buy some time and actually baits NVISION back in, and now Deadly jumps forward, can't quite land the double kill. Yes, he can. XL get a big win and probably go straight for Baron.
Yeah, and NVISION put up a fight this game, but it was always a bad omen when you're ahead in pressure, but you're still down in gold. And finally, XL stop forcing fights. They find Nolty, they find Prosper, they do it twice in a row, and now the end result is they're going to be able to pick up that Baron Nashor. Dragon as well, going to go in that pocket, so the threat, the soul, extremely low. I think pings are coming out, NVISION trying to rush over to it as sort of last-ditch effort, but Sendo solos that, they get the Baron. And it took longer to get to this stage, but the game is now looking extremely dire once again for NVISION.
Yeah, I think they're past the point of where their composition really pops off. Obviously, if we get the Triforce finished up on Adept, then maybe he finds solo lane pressure, but even then, I mean, the quadruple Durans was obviously a massive failure for Yusa this game. You're now looking at, what, 1.5 items advantage for Deadly, and again, Deadly 4-1 and 3. He's having an excellent game so far. I just don't think they really found what they needed with that item spike.
No, and I respect them going for it, because I think it was clear that they needed to try something different this game, but ultimately it hasn't panned out. Too many mistakes that XL just love to punish, and Prosper, I think he was potentially looking for a flank, but he's been caught out by Sendo, and it's just going to go down. It's been a bit of a rough game for him, in all honesty. He's been on the front line, he's been the one trying to find these engages, and he's paid for it massively. BTXL just cutting through him.
Yeah, and they're going to go for a push onto this tier 2 mid lane now as well. And with that Baron buff, and with the fact that XL have just got so many item spikes over their opponents, I just don't see many ways that NVISION find their way back in here. XL looking very clean, as they always have done. Some early game wobbles, but they weren't really significant enough to shake XL off their perch. It's not over till it's over, but a 8k, 9k gold lead definitely feels kind of over here for NVISION.
Yeah, and I think if they find the miracle engage where they get on top of the likes of Special and Deadly, then maybe there's a chance, but they have to go for that soon. Last game, we saw them sort of stall out. And I guess the argument there was they had scaling elements to their composition. They don't have that afforded them right now. They need to try and make something happen, deny this Baron, take a fight out of it, and shut down some of these bounties on XL.
I just don't see many ways. When XL are grouped and they have their big front line in the way, you know, as long as they can land the relevance onto particularly Adept and they kite backwards, and obviously with Deadly playing Xayah, you always have that get out of jail free card, and even if Adept gets to that backline, he still has that ultimate as a form of self-peel.
I think the critical thing is catching them on rotation. Right now, you see Special on the bot lane, Sendo on the top. Pick a lane, just hard force through it. is really what I'm looking towards. And you see that grouping towards that bot side, trying to find something. Maybe they get a pick here, but right now they're just really focused on clearing out the minion waves.
And I don't think clearing out the minion waves gets you back into this game. Quick pause comes through. And we'll obviously find out what's going on with that pause when we can. But yeah, let's talk about trying to get my lights on. You know, I've got to be like real sneaky with my little controller to get the lights on. But I wasn't sneaky enough. Let's talk about this game so far. Then, I mean, what has been NVISION's problem throughout both of these games? What has been their issue that has kind of led to their undoing?
Well, I think it's been different scenarios, but I think it's been a very controlled game by XL, and it feels like whenever NVISION were making a play that looked strong, it was just a very quick turnaround from XL to answer somewhere else on the map, which was pretty rough. I think because we saw these plays from NVISION, we're like, cool, they're getting some momentum. They're trying to find some pressure in this game. And then it's very quickly the enemy team just putting down some hit on them. I think there were times where we saw, I think the big takeaway was that one where Special TP'd in bot, Sendo ulted Shikari back, they kill him, they get first tower. And it's things like that. And it's the fact that whenever they were going for a play, whenever they wanted to go for that dragon, Sendo would pick up a plate. And it's just these consistent things coming in that essentially meant that a gold lead was still in XL's pocket despite the pressure being on NVISION. And I remember seeing these games way back when like SKT were the dominant team in the world, and it was a very controlling meta for Korea. And we would typically see games where even when a team felt like they were winning against SKT, and it looked like, oh yeah, no, look at all these kills they're getting, look at this pressure. It's like the gold's still even. And then all it took was like one play from that team, in that case SKT, and the game's just blown open. And I feel like that's what we had here, is that every single play NVISION went for was answered. And then when XL found their play, there was no answer. They absolutely crushed. And suddenly that even gold turned into a massive lead to them. And then have 10,000 up.
10,000 at 26 minutes. Where have we heard that before? Ah, yes, the game just previously. XL going to get the mid lane inhibitor, and again, NVISION just struggling to find the engage. Maybe they are looking to mid. Prosper's going for a hook, does land onto Kasing, but that's not really the right target. Bullet time, really just tickling Taxa and Special here, although Yusa is going to try and chase down Taxa. Won't actually find the kill. The face breaker, or sorry, rather the attempt of engage rather from Kasing coming through. I thought it was actually Sendo. Gedley as well follows up. Takes quite a bit of damage from the ultimate from Prosper, but in the meantime, Sendo's just taking top lane inhibitor.
Yeah, I mean, it's like
and a double up. It was a double up.
That was the last hurrah. That was like, let's go. They're now looking for Sendo here. Okay, he might actually be able to kill Yusa.
He might. I think he does just kill Yusa. He might even just be able to kill Shikari off the back of it as well. Huge amount of health regeneration coming through. Big face breaker to get the shield, and then he's backed up by Kasing too, and then Deadly is there also. Third inhibitor would be broken by XL. Don't know if they feel confident enough to go for the game win here, but they've basically taken everything.
They don't need to. They're not forced into that is the big thing here. They don't have to rush in and end the game. And if that's not the story of this series, I don't know what else is. XL controlling and very measured. I think every single move they've made, it almost feels like they've had it planned in advance, and they're not overstepping, and it gives very little element for NVISION to find a route back into the game. Even, as I said, in those earlier stages when NVISION were making plays, it felt like XL always answering, and the end result is we now have a game where they're 10,000 gold up. They've got all three inhibitors down. They're going to pick up that third dragon. Pings are coming out, but they don't even need it. They can just walk down with the super minions and look to end this game out. XL, I mean, we expected them to be favorites here. We expected them to come out ahead. I don't think this is shattering any illusions about that, but in this manner, it's just so decisive. Engage coming in from Prosper.
I mean, it's the last hurrah. They kind of had to go through it with all three inhibitors down, but already two of them dropped to the floor. Nolty and Prosper, that duo taking a lot of hits. Sendo's going to zone away Yusa. I mean, he's actually just going to kill Yusa. Adept will go down to Deadly at the end. The Nexus turrets will fall. That will be game. XL 2-0. They'll find themselves a spot in both the European Masters and the finals of the UKLC. A dominating win from undoubtedly the best team in the UK right now.
Yeah. I think without a doubt. Sorry, I just laughed in the old chat. Kasing saying to Shikari, come fight. And Shikari saying, no, please. But ultimately, a pretty dominating performance from XL, and it's what we expected, in all honesty, as said, the favorites, but in such a manner that it kind of shatters any pre-expectations throughout the split. We saw in these best of ones, close matches like against M&M, even some against NVISION, this was a game where XL came to say, look, we are the best team in the UK. And right now, whoever they're facing out of Barrage of Fnatic, it's a big ask because they're still yet to drop a game this split. Every time you think you find something favorable, they're answering back on the other side of the map. And I feel like more than anything, we've seen XL have excellence previously last year, and a lot of it came from like individual strength. Like, oh, they have Kasing, who's been in the LEC. They had Special, who's been a monster mid lane in ERLs. This doesn't really feel like that anymore. This just feels like they're a damn good team. And the fact that they have stars in almost every role is just a bonus.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. I think XL definitely rocking one of the strongest iterations, not only wise, but also just individual players. You know, Tax has stepped up, Sendo stepped up. They're arguably some of their best in the roles. You know, potentially you could even argue in Europe in some cases. I think XL looking very good and having confirmed at least a play-in spot at the European Masters. It's at least group spots.
So they
we
are
have 2 group
guaranteed to be
spots. There
going
you
to
go.
the groups for EU Masters, and they'll have a chance to fight for our first seed and to be the best in the UK. Obviously, they at the moment they're looking like it, but they'll have a chance to fight for that next week in our finals, and our next match will dictate that.
Yeah, we've said that about XL before, though, and then Fnatic just beats them in the finals. So we'll have to see what happens. And speaking,
we haven't ever had it like this, but yeah.
No.
You can never call it. You can never call it. I mean, speaking of Fnatic, they on Barrage in a best of 3 to decide who will be joining XL in both the European Masters and the UKLC finals. So after the break, we'll dive into our next series.